Alright guys, how's it going? Basically what this video is going to be detailing is how to set up a basic OpenCore EFI file. So essentially what you want to do is, let's say you want to install Mac on any other PC or any other hardware that's not an official Mac. This method basically will let you use a stock USB Mac OS install drive, and then basically you're going to boot from the EFI partition that we create, essentially like a Mac faked Mac bootloader that will work on your PC, and then you can load into any stock USB. So there's a couple steps that we got to go over. So one, you got to gather the correct kext, just the essential ones for now. SSDTs, and I have a table that's going to show you based on your system which SSDTs you require. And then once you get those two things on your desktop downloaded into their folders, like one kext folder, one SSDT folder, what you're going to want to do is unzip your OpenCore file from the release section, delete a couple EFI firmware files you don't require, and then you want to add in your acpi SSDT downloads into the acpi folder, as well as your kext into the kext folder. And then from there, what you're going to go ahead and do is open up proper tree. Whether you're in Mac or Linux, you just want to get those correct files in the subdirectory, and then open up your OpenCore config file in proper tree, and then you do something called a snapshot, which basically it scans all through the files that are in those directories and generates it into your config file. So from that point, once you get there, all you need to do is add in some boot arguments like -v, that way you can see a terminal line, because typically it's not going to be just a one-stop shop. You're going to have to configure it and mess around with certain options to get your system to boot. So until it works perfectly, you want to see the command line as it boots. That way you can, without any issues, you can just look at exactly where it's hanging or not booting. And then you just isolate the issue, type it into Google, and you can figure it out, generally fix it pretty quick. So I know I'm kind of throwing a lot at you right here, but that's essentially the process. And once you get to the step that I just last listed, with your snapshot finished, the only thing else that you have to add is your ROM, motherboard, and serial ID. So there's like a little small program called Gen SM BIOS, and that will give you entries for that as well. So that's the only thing that I'm not really going to go over here in this video, just because it's specific to everybody, but it's very simple. It's just you use that GitHub project to generate the info, and then you go down to the I think it's NVRAM section in your proper tree file for the configuration, and you just add it in there. It's simple. It's on the Dortania guide as well. So we're going to jump over to my desktop here, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. So as you can see, I have this Word document here, and I just go step through step exactly what you need. So basically you look at this table here that I've listed, and you can go to this link, and that's where they have the tables. That's where I've got them from. And you basically just look at your processor information, whether you got a desktop or a laptop, and then you download each individual SSDT that applies. And then there's some extra ones here. So you make sure you have all of those, right? And there's links for each individual one. You get them all. These are the ones that my system requires on this current Hackintosh. It's actually a KVM system. But I've got them in a folder here called acpi on my desktop. Now the next thing you do is you do the exact same thing with the essential kexts. And I've got the link right here. So you go to that link, you make sure you download the update version of all these kexts, and then you're gonna put them all into a file on your desktop called kexts, or whatever you want, but something that's simple, right? And then the last thing that you do is you download your OpenCore release, which is from the link above. Sorry, at the bottom here, I've got the OpenCore release, right? I think the latest one is 6.2. So then you go into your firmware files, which is just in, sorry, I've got it on a different screen. In here, you go to OpenCore, and then drivers. And what you want to do is delete everything that's not these two at first. So open runtime is, or sorry, open canopy is fine because that's what basically gives you your GUI as well. They say not to use it at first, or they don't at least list it as essential, but in my opinion, it's kind of cool to just do it right from the beginning. So that's the only thing I will note. You can keep that one in there. And then once you have all of that stuff, you're going to have a file called config, or I believe it's actually somewhere else. It's in like somewhere in that OpenCore release area. There's something called like sample.config or whatever. What you want to do now is, like I said, once you have the acpi and kext folders on your desktop, you want to extract your OpenCore release package, and you want to copy the EFI folder to your desktop. And then from there, like I said, you go into OpenCore, you delete the unnecessary drivers, and then once you get to that point, you copy all of your kexts that you need into here, and then you do the exact same thing with your ssdts into your acpi, okay? Once you get to that point, you copy that sample.config from the releases into here and call it config.plist. Now, what you want to do from here is you want to get that proper tree that I was talking about, and you can either build the app or you can just run it from the command whether you're on Mac or Linux. But basically, once you open that up, you're going to get something that looks like this. And from there, you open up your config.plist. Just use Command O. And I can do this. And from here, it's all listed in my little Word document that I've got here. Basically, just making sure I don't cover things up. Right, okay, so from this point, once all those files are in the correct place, like I said, you're going to do Command-Shift-R or Control-Shift-R, depending on your operating system. And from that point, it should build a snapshot with everything that needs to be in there. Now, like I said, the only things that you're going to want to tweak yourself is the NVRAM, which is your firmware, serial number, and all that. And you might want to add some boot arguments like -v. But from this point forward, you can go ahead and save it. And then once you have that complete EFI folder, all you got to do is copy that EFI folder into any FAT32 partition. And when you boot up into Refined, you'll be able to see that EFI OpenCore partition. And like I said, if it's set up correctly, you can hook up any USB drive to your computer from a genuine, like if you were to go on the Apple website and make a Catalina install USB for a regular Mac, if you boot into this EFI partition from OpenCore, you'll be able to use any stock macOS USB. So okay, hopefully that clears this video up. My next video is going to be more in depth on bootloaders, not just specifically OpenCore, and then I'm also going to do an Arch installation guide. So look forward to that. Hopefully this clears up the Hackintosh stuff for now, and hopefully you guys will like this video. So all the help, with likes and comments and all that stuff is great. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon.